There we go. That works better. Where's Dave? I lost my Dave. There we are. All right. Try natin to. Mas kita ba? Kita ba? Pag ganyan. Ayan. Huh? Very good. Hey guys, welcome to Pour Overdose. Ayusin ko lang to.
We're live na.
Oh, we're live
Nice.
on YouTube. Because YouTube is the one that will give us money. And as you all know, being here, we make no money from doing this, and we spend a lot of money doing it. We like doing it, which is why we do it. And honestly, it's something that we find we have to do anyway, right? We're supposed to taste all of our coffees as they come in. I haven't done the calculation on the coffee, but I know that we spent a total of about 14, something like 14.5 on 13 bags of 250 grams on average of coffee.
Okay.
So that means our average coffee price.
900.
Huh?
900 in average.
No, mahal na.
Mahal na.
Mahal na. It's like, so nylon is still really inexpensive. It's like a $24 bag of
Okay.
coffee, right? But like, there's like like the Hamasha, I think it's like $50. So
Ooh.
yeah, so like the average price really gets pulled up in total, which is why we end up with a lot of coffees because like I have a rule when we travel because to be honest, Manila's caught up, or the Philippines as a whole is caught up a lot in terms of access to good selection of green. The quality of green is not yet there, right? So we get good selection of green, but they're like poorly traveled, poorly stored, and then we get them, and sometimes they have age defect to them. But other than that, we find that most of the coffees are accessible here. So what I do is that when we travel, we try to get coffees that you cannot get here. Meaning, sometimes they're blends, right? Because it requires some expertise, right? So we're appealing to that expertise. Or just stuff that just doesn't show up here because it's just too expensive, right? So the Hamasha lot, actually anything from Cafe Utu is kind of like that, which we'll get to as we get to them. But first, we're gonna start with my first coffee
From right.
here. All right, so this is going to be our first cold coffee at Pour Overdose. We usually do not do cold coffees, but yeah, it's kind of, oh, I should probably explain what Pour Overdose is. So Pour Overdose is our coffee tasting system that we've developed during the pandemic as our replacement for cupping. And we actually don't really do so much cupping anymore in the cafe. Why? So cupping was developed by the Specialty Coffee Association as a way of standardized tasting of coffees from producer to buyer to roaster to consumer, right? But that's generally to standardize for export, right? To make a coffee that's good for that people will want to buy abroad. But it doesn't really address our needs because we don't really need so much coffee exported to us, right? We make the coffee. So, so that's the first thing that started us moving away from cupping, and then the sharing of cups and spoons. Right now, there's a new protocol, but because we started on this thought process, we also realized, well, since we do not, since we're already questioning whether or not we should do cupping, ano ba yung purpose ng cupping, right? So cupping is in its heart a way to detect defect. Right? So you use a higher ratio of coffee. And if you're maybe the only one in the entire chain who has a secondary purpose would be the roaster, right? The roaster is tasting it, trying to determine both for defect, but also for roast profile, right? Try to develop what flavors are. Can we do this? Can we do that? But for the most part, at the farm level, the processor, roaster, they're all trying to look for defect. In which case, why would you brew your coffee that way? Why would you do your coffee tasting in the way that you feel is the best way to identify defect, right? So what we do is we're trying to make coffee at a very standard way, but is supposed to do the opposite and high defect, right? Which is what you want when you're brewing coffee at home or in the cafe, right? You don't want people to show up at your cafe, make them a coffee, and it's like, you taste this defect, you know that, you know that thing smells, it tastes a little bit like chlorine or rubber, right? Isn't that, you taste it, right? Oh, galing natin, na taste natin, right? Like that's, no one does that, right? No one's going to like Sweet Ecstasy, ordering a burger and be like, you know what was not good about this burger, right? Nobody wants to do that. So that's why we did this, right? It's a bit more consumer centric, consumer focused, and we all get to drink coffee that's been poured over. Now we do use a somewhat standard brew method that they've developed during the Barista Championship, Brewers Cup, Philippine Brewers Cup. We call it Axis Brewing. It's a way of using low temperature for your first pour, and then we progress with higher temperatures until we get to our full weight. Usually it's broken into a total of 4 pours.
3 pours.
3 pours. Broken into a total of 3 pours. Today we are brewing at a 1:15 ratio for everything, and we are using 30 grams of coffee in and 450 ml of water in, right? So we're expecting about 400 ml of coffee to come out once absorbency is done, except for our iced coffee. So why did we choose an iced coffee and why are we doing one today? So I went to Home Ground, and I was pretty happy visiting Home Ground because I went there I went to the old location, and then, which was great, and I went to the new location last year in around October. It was not so good, right? And you could tell why, right? It's really hard to go from a small space to like this big, like 100-something square meter, actually bigger. I think it might be 200 square meters, massive shop house, right? So I decided to go back, see what the experience was like again, and it looked like they had figured a lot of it out, and I thought I'd pick up some coffee. Now, this is a coffee, I had not seen anything like this before. They call it Ice Ice Baby, and it's a blend. So it's a theme that they're trying to, the coffees will not always be the same, is my understanding, but it will always be designed for iced pour-overs. Meaning what? Supposedly, when you brew this, it will not dilute. Coffee uses 50% Aquiares Estate, Costa Rica. It's a red honey. And we have, it's a mix of Esperanza and red honey. And then you have 50% Fazenda Garioba, Brazil. You see most people just refer to this as Fazenda Brazil, because that word's really hard to pronounce. Yellow bourbon, black honey, and that black honey is double CM, so it's carbonic macerated. Coffee.
30 grams. Wala pa.
Okay,
Di pa
so
nag-
Dave is gonna dose that out. While Dave is dosing that out, we've washed our filter. We're using flat bottom filters today,
30 grams.
30 grams. And we are going to put ice in this. So historically, the way that you do a ice brew, a flash brew, is you make 50% ice. Because that's what they're intending people will do, that's what we're gonna do. Usually, I don't like to do it. I like to brew it at full strength and then put it in an ice bath and stir it. But not everyone has 20 minutes to make their iced coffee. So we're gonna do it this way, flash brewing. But we are gonna do a couple things different. First, we're gonna put half of our weight in ice. We use big ice here in Honeycomb. You have to be a bit careful with your borosilicate glass and these giant big ice. We've broken a fair number of carafes with big ice. Yeah. Sorry, they've broken. Oh. All right, and then now we have that in there. That's all gonna melt as we brew it. And I think we have some volume. So sometimes we stick other stuff in there that are not gonna melt, just increase the thermal mass. And for example, here, my Lomorzoko tamper, it freezes very well. It's really good for dropping thermal mass. But it's not going to fit in there, so we're going to go with some whiskey stones, right? Just to increase our thermal mass. And you can also use a Paragon ball if you have it,
You may
right? So you can
check this one out,
can put
guys.
that
You
in
can
there.
smell the coffee. You
Now it looks like
pass it around.
if we do it in the correct order, that should work. And we have a big mess of things that we can put for the ice brew. All right, so we'll put the tamper and the other Paragon ball back in the freezer. Wow, that looks really stupid. All right, let's hope it works. Sobra ata na isa. All right, looks good.
Ooh.
So, all right. So let's brew. Interesting. I'm not gonna let you. I won't let you guys smell this particular one. It's not so remarkable. So let's just see how it fares here. 30 grams. So we're doing 450. So do 100 grams. All right. So do 100 grams at 80.
Okay.
100 ml. So we try to maintain more or less the same timing. So we're doing 100 ml at 80 degrees Celsius, all the way to about 100 degrees, 100 grams. And that will be about the first 40 seconds of the pour. And then we're gonna move up to a 90,
93.
93. So it's still boiling. It's okay, you have 10 we have 10 seconds. Okay. And then we're gonna split the remaining in half. So that means we need to add another 170 ml. But since we're only doing half for this one, we'll also cut that in half.
Yeah, pwede.
Yeah.
Pwede.
Which means that our final brew weight for this will be 225. Good class. And it should be a relatively fast brew. There we go. This is JC's rock and roll bar spoon.
Oh, that's where it is. Secret.
So you know it's a good good bar spoon. You can crack ice with the back, and she uses a skull. It's got a skull on there. So you're cracking heads. That's JC's job around here. So JC is our in-house editor. Joined the team recently, and she's also the main reason why we started doing our cocktail concept, which is not for free. That's Dev Bar, and the idea is that we have a concept, and Dave, JC, and I developed 4 drinks that we will never make again, right? On a concept. So for Halloween, we did Friday the 13th. So it was on Friday the 13th. It's about 1,500 pesos for the flight of drinks. That's not all you're gonna drink. And that's all I will say. But they are fun. It's very experimental. Yeah. There may or may not have been some video, okay? Yeah.
It,
You weren't here, right? For that one? Yeah, I would have remembered if you're singing. You sing? What did you sing? Oh yes, I do remember. I just couldn't understand any of your words. All right. Okay na rin that we're starting with a cold drink because after that the cups are gonna. So we're brewing with Amber and Frost brewer. Try and bring down the temperature on this thing. Bring down the dilution level. I cannot stir with all these rocks in here. The Amber and Frost Brewer is a locally developed brewing system by Mark Howe. You may know him from Keep Cup and is it Frank Green, the other cup brand?
Oh, yeah.
But those of us who have been in this a while remember him as the
Ella and the Blackbeard.
Ella and the Blackbird, and before that, Craft Katipunan.
yeah.
So he's the founder of Craft in Katipunan. So I'm going to try and stir this down, try and get the dilution a little bit higher. So he developed this brewer. It took him a bit more than a year. It's made of borosilicate glass. This is the first run, and if you want a set, they cost 950 pesos.
Good.
They use a slightly more narrow cone versus your V60. So it's about 70 degrees instead of 60 degrees. And what's the effect? You have one of my favorite, and anyone who's been to Pour Overdose is probably sick of me hearing me say this, but Bernoulli's principle is my favorite fluid dynamic principle. It's a principle that allows for flight, right? So if liquid or a fluid is moving through a tunnel, the narrower the tunnel, the less pressure it will put on the walls, right? That's why a wing allows a plane to fly, because it's curved on top, therefore a narrower tunnel. So it puts less pressure on top, and the more pressure on the bottom generates the lift. So it's just a variance in pressure. By having a narrower cone, a more slanted cone, what happens is that there's less pressure on the walls. It accelerates the flow rate going down. And then in addition, he did this kind of double wall reverse mouth design. So it's kind of inverted in on itself, and it traps heat towards the top. So the water that goes down generates steam, and it heats the inside of the cone, hotter in the top and less towards the bottom, right? And that's good because you're going to have less liquid on the top and more cooling on the top throughout the brew period. All right, that looks pretty good. Julep strainer fits. All right. What's our head count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
15, sakto.
15. Oh, tama. All right, so let's try to we'll start with all of our cups here, and then later on, we will, I'll line them up here. And later on, we'll pour the cups pour almost directly into your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ilan na yan? That's already 15. All right, so let's start slowing down. Whoops. Abot. Yeah, baby. All right. Then you have to be careful when you have lots of heavy stuff inside your carafe, not to tip it over.
Akin lang yung konti.
Okay. All right. There you go. Enjoy.
Wow.
All right. Good now.
Very sweet coffee. Crazy.
Oh,
Very
wow.
sweet. Try it. My goodness.
Wow.
My goodness.
Wow, congratulations, home ground. You did it.
Yeah. Woo.
Oh, what do you think's happening here, Dave?
With this brew,
Yeah?
actually the metal and the rocks really help make it make it more sweeter.
It drops the
Because,
temperature
yeah, it
very
drops
quick.
the temperature without adding too much water. So it's a very good,
But we put the same amount of water that we would usually put. It just didn't all melt.
yeah.
So there's probably about 60 ml of liquid that stayed here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, very smart to use the tamper. Yung La Marzocco
Yeah.
tamper.
Hey,
If
thank you, TikTok.
Yeah, if you wanna, if you
No, I'm
wanna.
just joking. I'm not. Do I look like I'm on TikTok?
But
No.
this coffee is very good. So sweet as it is.
So, where's the bag?
Ano,
This one. This one. So I think what's happening is that this carbonic maceration was probably way too intense to begin with. So they
Okay.
cut it. So they basically they put in two coffees that were like way too intense anyway, that you would usually cut with less interesting coffees, and then they just cut them with each other instead. So I think that this was also expensive. I think this is like $35
wow.
for that bag. All right.
Okay.
That's our first coffee. Dave's gonna brew the next one.
The next coffee is ready. I already grinded it. If you wanna smell the grounds while I'm explaining. Okay, so it's an Ethiopia Uragararo fermented. It's an anaerobic natural coffee. It says Omni. So if you look at the beans, I will show it to you later. It's different eh. Like it looks like two. They didn't say the varietal eh, but it looks like it's a two different varietal. Parang
Interesting.
yeah, it's really different. Mayroong shiny, may ano, may rough. Yeah.
In the batch.
Yeah. So the roaster is what's the name? It's hard to ano.
Kumu.
Kumo.
Yeah.
Kumo.
Kumu. Yeah.
From Singapore then.
I picked it up inside of Stay Gold Flamingo, which is a cafe and bar, a really good bar and a pretty good cafe.
Yeah.
And I had I ordered a drink there that turned out not to have coffee in it, but I was already like liquid it up. So I decided to order a what did I order? I ordered an affogato
Did you guys
where they used
smell
ube ice cream.
anyone? Use that.
And then I came home and now there's ube ice cream in our freezer.
Oh.
So that's why. Because I was like, wait a minute, we make the ube. We can do this anytime. My joke all the time about ube is that I used to not like ube, and then it became cool in Williamsburg. So, what kind of hipster would I be? Hipster na yung ube.
So the brewing process that we use is the Axis method. So we pour a lot of water at start. Like for this brew is actually 100 ml. Usually it's 80 ml we pour. So we do that because most of the coffee that we brew is not like dark roast or espresso roast. So we don't need to degas too much. At the same time, we use a low temperature, so we don't have to. We're not extracting a lot of acids at the first pour. So trying to focus on extracting the sweetness. So yung first pour lang yung we agitate. And then the next two pours, we just pour it at the center. Like this. So we're using the shape of the brewer. So as Keo said, the shape of the brewer matter much than the sides. Because parang before, di ba, may mga ripple pa. It doesn't really ripple. There's like shapes, di ba? Hindi naman talaga siya nag-act as like that. But the shape itself, yun yung mas important. So, there's pros and cons with this brewer. One is since you're pouring at the center, it's easy to do. It's easy to train baristas because they don't have to, to agitate too much. The cons is like it produces kind of more balance and clarity of flavor. So if you don't want that to happen, this is not the brewer for you. So I believe like brewers are meant for different ano eh. Parang siya yung in your camera it's the lens. Ganun siya. So just pour at the center until you reach the amount.
So this iced coffee, what did you guys taste? I thought it was a little spicy, a little bit of like cinnamon and refreshing, like a tea, right? Like a lemongrass, right? I thought did really good job. It's hard because like all of that is hidden behind this very upfront sweetness. So you taste it and it's sweet and then it's big in your mouth, right? But at no point do you not feel like it's black coffee, right? Like sometimes when you have an iced coffee, it tastes a lot like tea, like water, right? But it has a lot of that tea-like tastes, right? Like a little bit of oolong taste to it, but it doesn't taste like black coffee.
400 tayo. 400.
450,
450.
because it's
Mas maganda nga ang wave talaga. If you wanna
high flow rate.
total pass-through.
Yeah. So yeah, in the past we've been surprised by the head count at Pour Overdose. We're very soft on promotions when it comes to Pour Overdose. We like to have people here, but what's the right term? We try to announce it as close to the event as possible because we don't want to be overloaded. It's probably a good way to describe. There's actually a good number of people, but it always happens when we're a little surprised at how many people show up. So we've been using the Cafic filters, which are great filters, but on this particular brewer, it's hard to brew large batches because the flow rate drops. But with the Kalita Wave filter, the flow rate doesn't drop on this particular coffee.
What?
All right, where's the bag? You should have some sort of-
Ito yung next mo.
No. All right. So the coffee we are about to taste. All right. So now you can stay where you are, and then your barista will serve you your coffee. Now, why do we have 8 coffees? We figure that 8 coffees is approximately 1 entire cup of coffee when you're done, right? So it's going to feel like a lot more, but don't worry, that's not the case. It's the same amount of coffee. It just doesn't feel that way.
Yung cup.
I'm trying to think of analogs in the world that are like that. That it feels like, it's not sweet. It's more than it feels like. No, it feels like more than it is. Ooh.
Anong next coffee mo? This one, the green one.
Yes.
Nag-weigh ka na.
Oh, ito na. Dito na yung nag-grind na ako. Ooh.
Wanna rinse?
So this is an anaerobic natural. I have started to move away from lactic fermentations and carbonic macerations, but mostly in favor of things like this, of anaerobic naturals, of anaerobic wash. Find that a lot of the fermentation processes remove a lot of desirable things that we like in coffee. Refined white sugar, like a candy, right? Lemon, it's sweet. Vanilla. It's a very complex coffee. There's a lot going on in here. And a very light, like chocolate finish. You taste it?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird to have like a chocolate and a candy lemon, the oleosaccharum, in the same coffee. It's weird. Ginger ale, yeah. But think about it, like a good ginger ale has a lot of sugar, a little bit of ginger, and a little bit of lemon, diba? So it's very, and then just that like cacao is just in the finish. It's like when you're finished sipping, it's like you're breathing a little bit of cacao air.
Meron pa. Sino pa may gusto? Anyone?
I'll have some more of that.
Anyone?
This was the coffee I was most nervous about. No, sorry, the black one is the one I'm most nervous about. Then this one. If we can get through the black one, I think we might be on a pour overdose of all hits. Because we've had like some up and down experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, a lot of times we're tasting coffees for the first time. But I think this one might very well be an all hits. Experience, that's great. This is not the potable water. Ooh. Oh, it's good. All right. Next coffee. We have from Nylon Coffee the La Barrialera. But it's one word, so it's La Barrialera. From El Salvador. I find that the best way to pronounce difficult to pronounce words is to just like act and put yourself in the character of like the most racist version, right? You try like I'll go to like Taiwan, people be like, why is your Chinese so good? I'm like, it's not politically correct, but I have a trick. No, I say that in jest, but I think that like trying to say things the way that locals say it, that people say it, is a way. It's a way of signifying that you respect that they have their own culture, and you're stepping into that culture. So, I mean, I tell a lot of jokes about that stuff, but I have very sincere meanings when I do something like that. This is it, 80?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's brew. Who here is familiar with Nylon Coffee? No one? You guys don't know about that? Okay, Ken knows now. You guys? Not familiar. So Nylon is, I would consider them to be an institution. They are consistently one of the best roasters, not just in the region, but the world. So Nylon is based in Singapore. One of the ways that they're able to keep their coffee prices low is that they have a small footprint, not unlike yourselves, right? In low-cost rent. They're actually in a housing development block in Singapore. So if you're familiar with public housing in Singapore, it's like these big nondescript buildings, and everybody has like a fancy address in Singapore, and they don't. They have, it's literally what would be a food center or a chicken rice stall. There's like a cafeteria next door. There's like a yarn store next door. But I haven't said this on social media yet, much less on YouTube. But I've kind of given up lattes. When was that? 425. I kind of gave up lattes 3 weeks ago. I'm lactose intolerant, which is not why. I used to not drink a lot of lattes. Welcome. Please have a seat. I used to not drink a lot of lattes, and then during the pandemic, I decided to cure myself of my lactose intolerance by drinking a cappuccino every day, which I managed to do. And because it was in my mom's house, we live in a very small apartment because we live most of our lives outside. And during the pandemic, I moved to my mom's house because she has a big house. And I set up that rocket machine there, started making coffee every day. I thought it was a good opportunity
Okay na to.
to, I'm stuck here, bathrooms everywhere, right? And I can drink all the milk I want. So I took the opportunity to cure myself of lactose intolerance by drinking a cappuccino every day. And then now I could like have it with cereal, put milk in my cereal and stuff. For the most part, I'm pretty able to the drink milk. However, I may also have put on about 15 kilos. So recently I did my calculation on my caloric intake and what I was taking just on my own, right? I just Googled everything. And turns out milk, for every ml of milk, it's a calorie. So if you're cappuccino, we're big here on weighing the pitcher, right? So for all of our baristas, if you're an intern here, if you're training, when you put the milk in your pitcher, you have to weigh it because that wastage is the life or death of a cafe, right? Like just that little bit, like 50 times a day times
Yeah.
365 days, like that can, that's profit you're throwing away. So also, it's hard to get the right texture if you have the wrong volume of milk. It's hard, everything. So we do everything on the scale, and as a result, I know I'm very cognizant of the fact that it's an extra 230 calories,
Yeah.
it's pure calories, right? Times 3.5%, because that's the fat content, right? And about 10 grams of sugar. For perspective, okay, sugar is 4-to-1 ratio. So for you to get 200, not even 200, well, 220 calories from sugar, you would need to put 1/4. You would need to put 52 grams of pure refined sugar in your espresso to have the same caloric intake from that cappuccino. So as a result, no lattes. But I went to Nylon and I had to have a latte. It's my first latte in like 3 weeks. I had to have a latte, and you know what? I didn't regret it. I was on vacation. All right. So brew time, 4.5 minutes. Ooh, looks good. The producer is Diego Barahona. The variety is Conca. Oh, are you guys familiar with Conca? Oh, it's a camera brand. Process is washed. Konica. May Conca na fake. Oh, so uso yun, di ba, in Japan? Like they have the fake version just has like a slightly different name. So like in golf, they have like Hero Honma. It's like one of the famous golf brands. And then like the fake one, they just made the little dip on the signature of the R into an N. So it's Hino Honma. Nobody's the wiser. This is so different from the last coffee. Oh, it's wildly different. Punchy orange stone fruit. Sour.
Mia, Joe. Joe.
A little bit of tender, juicy hot dog. You, you know how it's like tender juicy, it's like a little sweet
Yeah.
and slick and oily.
Yeah, you're right. Savory, very savory.
Diba?
coffee.
Savory, little slick and oily, and
Yeah. Interesting coffee.
interesting coffee. Huh? What's that? Buttery, yeah.
see the,
That's what I mean when I say oily, right?
Did
it's-
you see the ano na
It has a tactile to it.
The
It's-
coffee? Kita nyo na. in green. Yeah. You can open it, pass it
Yeah.
around.
What's it called? Queen of Sheba. Cool. You know who the Queen of Sheba is, right? Okay. Okay.
How is it,
She's a
Zach?
very powerful seductress in the era of rulers that were all patriarchies.
That hot dog thing, it's in my head.
See? I'm sorry, guys, if I made all of our coffees taste like hot dog. It's a power of suggestion. But have you guys ever had like a Kenyan coffee that tastes a little bit like sinigang? It has that meaty taste, and yeah, so it's kind of like that. But again, so with Access, it's not just like the brewing method, but it's also a way of understanding like the flavor process. So I think we have the placemat somewhere here. Can you ask Mac for one of the placemats of the Access brewing method?
Nasa ilalim.
It's under the oven.
Yeah.
And I always say that well, not always, but the thing that I like about Access is that it's about like origin, experience, craftsmanship, and stewardship, right? So those are the four corners of the Access, and the ways that we interpret our coffee kind of are bringing those things towards the center, right? So the tasting notes, yeah, thank you. So these are the actual placemats that Dave used in the Brewer's Cup. So if you guys want to take a look at how it's done, you can see over here at the bottom you have origin and experience, and in the middle is where you have tasting notes, right? So the idea is that the taste comes from the origin, right? But it's your experience that informs what your tasting note is. So I can say tender, juicy hot dog because that's my experience, right? And
Yeah.
the reason that all of you taste it also is because you also have the same experience, right? But does that mean that there were tender, juicy hot dogs at the origin planted next to the tree? No, right? Hot dogs don't grow on trees, to the best of my knowledge. Here, if you guys want to take a peek at it. Huh?
Wish they did.
You wish they did, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Makes you question how much agricultural good is actually in a tender, juicy hot dog. Mm. That was really good.
Yeah. Okay, so our next coffee is a local roaster. So in our pour over dose, you always insert one local coffee. I think Escolta, we had your coffee before. We've been
Yeah.
used, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the
The
Robusta.
Robusta one. Yeah. So we always insert one local roaster. It's always part of what we're doing. So Elixir is a new roastery in Panay Avenue, South Triangle.
Oh, QC.
Yeah, QC. Yeah.
Nice.
So they gave us this coffee. It's in Ethiopia. I forgot to ask the process. Okay. If you're watching, Edward, so please comment the process of this coffee. Okay, but he said it's in Ethiopia. Minessage ko siya, kaso hindi pa siya nagre-reply. Alright. If you want to smell the fragrance, here's the coffee while I'm preparing. So, yan, if you're roasting coffee, if you want to plug your roasted coffee here in Pour Overdose, you can just bring some. We're very transparent on what we taste about that coffee. Okay, whatever it is, we just say it.
Yes.
It's like that.
Have
if you
sipper rules.
yeah. If you have it, we're going to have another it's a monthly session. So next month meron kami ulit. Yan. Ito yung coffee nila. Here's the beans pie.
So since there's no labeling, feel free to open it and look at the coffee. So you have an idea of what the profile is like, what the bean consistency is like, the size.
Yeah.
All those are clues.
It's there. Can I have it? The grounds. Was it? A milk croissant. Oh, freshly baked bread.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you might smell butter or.
let's see if that sticks
Yeah.
around.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if that sticks around through the brewing process. I, I would not want it to.
Right.
Yeah, this is definitely the coffee I'm most nervous about today. So I got to, yeah, yeah, you can pass it around since he's already brewing this. Okay, so this is the Dreama Zede from Roasted by Cafe Utu. Our friend Lucky is the head of coffee over there. He's the head barista and the roaster. He was here last week and he did a tasting in Maker and Made, which is in BGC, and he brought this coffee. And I was like practice vlogging because like I got some new mics and I need to do some tests before I went to Singapore. And I never published any of the stuff that we said because I kept on referring to this as the geisha, and it is not a geisha. It just tastes like one, which is, yeah, yeah. So this coffee it's from Panama, so it's from the same area, but it's mixed heirloom,
Okay.
this one. And they did a natural warm anaerobic, which means it's natural process. Are you guys familiar with the processing styles of coffee? Say no if you don't know, because if not, I'm just gonna keep talking. No. Okay. So there are two primary ways of processing coffee. So the farmers pick it as a cherry, right, and then they give it to a processor. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's not, right? The simplest way is that it's then dried, right? On the cherry, it's dried until it's hardened, and they crack it and they remove the bean inside, right? That's called natural processing, meaning it's the bean on the inside is never removed until it's fully dried, right? It's gonna get the fermented natural flavors of that coffee. That's one way. The other way is called washed, right? Where the coffee is then depulped, so they removed all of the skin and the flesh of the coffee, and that just becomes fertilizer, right? And then the bean itself is still sticky and like covered in like a sludge. So they then wash that with water until it's the bean, the green thing that gets roasted, but it's still wet. So then it's dried. Okay? So both of them are dried. Some are on patios. So makita mo with palay, right? It's just on, they call it patios, but what they mean is
mas
cement
maganda pala
slab,
gawin niya dito.
right? Or they do with dried beds, which are like army cots, but fly screen, right? So the water just drips through and allows it to dry. That's kind of washed and natural and washed, right? And then you have other processes. The most popular is the honey process, right? So washed is natural is the easiest one. It's the cheapest ones for farmers to do. It gets a lot of the natural flavors of the fermentation. Washed is a little bit, well, significantly more expensive because it requires you to have plumbing and access to water, right? And runoff water. Like, what are you going to do with all of that, right? And then it's more labor intensive because someone has to be doing it the whole time. Whereas with dried, you just throw it out on a patio, right? In the middle, you have honey, which after they depulp it, right? So they remove all the mucilage and stuff, and it's covered in the sticky sludge. That's it. They just dry it like that. Okay?
Okay.
For the most part, that's what it is. Sometimes there's like other steps that they do in between, but the easiest way to remember it is that's the three. Natural, washed, honey is in the middle. Okay? So here they have done a natural warm anaerobic, which means they left it inside the cherry and they took out oxygen, right? So aerobic is lots of oxygen, anaerobic is no oxygen. So usually they put it inside a bag, usually like an agricultural bag, like a Grain Pro, right? Take out all the air, and then in this case, they submerged it in a bathtub and heated the water, right? So parang sous vide, right? Or more likely, I don't know if they still do this anymore, but when I was growing up and you wanted hot water, you put it in a balde, and then there's a little yellow drop heater
Oh, yeah.
that you plug in,
Baguio, it's very,
and you throw it in, right? So if you imagine what life is like in rural Panama, it's probably something closer to that, right? So they heated it up with a sous vide, made the whole thing warm, which meant what? Naluto yung flesh ng fruit,
okay.
right? Naluto
Okay.
yung flesh ng fruit and allowed it to mix in with the bean more. And then after that, they opened it and they dried it on a patio or a dried raising bed. So it's still a natural, but before they put it on the bed, may ginawa sila, which does two things. One is that it can increase
It opens the pores eh.
it opens the pores.
Diba?
You start the caramelization, right, of sugars. So there's a lot that can happen, and I think you'll taste what happened with this particular coffee that made it so geisha-like.
Okay.
This is the elixir. Do you have notes?
Yeah. It's different from usual Ethiopian coffees. Yeah. Not that very like lemony, diba? Usually Ethiopia is like it's supposed to be taste like lemon, light. This one I think is kind of more of like an omni roast coffee. It's good for when I'm brewing it. It releases a lot of carbon. So I think this coffee is an omni roast. It's good for espresso and filter. That's why it doesn't give you yung satisfaction of having an Ethiopian lemony
Blueberry,
acidity.
yeah.
Yeah. So they were right. It's towards into like freshly baked bread. This one. How is it, Keo?
I would describe this as an afternoon coffee,
Okay.
right? Like this is not a kick you in the face juicy coffee. Probably, let's taste it as espresso
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of the flavor is subdued in as a pour over. Yeah, but sweet, not bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the good thing. Wala siyang aftertaste because they newly parang opened their shop.
Yeah, there's a mild paper bagginess to it.
If you're nearby in their place, drop by kayo sa kanila.
All right. He's gonna have the trouble of being murdered by this next coffee. This is not fair.
Yeah, everything's ready. Yung black.
All right. Yep.
Parang I think it's a good palate cleanser. Parang
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it breaks us from, from the very, parang fruit bomb na yung mga nainom natin na coffee. So this one is
Haven't heard that word in a while. Fruit bomb.
Yeah. I need that kettle. Done na. Okay na lahat. Ito, yeah. Oo. Mamaya, subukan natin. May tissue ka pa? Wala na yan. Saan? Ito pala. Patay na naman. Okay na, malapit na. Fit na ano.
Doon pa sa vlog, kitang-kita sa mukha ni Joe. Parang, why does he keep saying geisha? Is he talking about a different one?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll show you. Maybe I might have deleted it. It was also very dark, so the video was not good quality. It was grainy.
This coffee. I'm excited.
Ano siya? Listed siya under this competition beans.
Yes, so this is a competition grade coffee. Both of the Cafe Utu.
Tapos siyang nandun sa list.
I think it's safe to say that Cafe Utu is a very good restaurant that is somewhat a place of indulgence.
We have... Oh, ilang minutes na tayo? 1 hour. 1 hour.
Okay.
Nandun pala siya, the ham shalat. But it's
At
under
the-
African coffee.
Okay.
So, I think we didn't have that.
We didn't have it,
No.
but we tasted it sa kapin.
Yeah. Nothing.
I don't know how I've gone 11 years in coffee and I still can't hold hot things. Diba at some point, like you're supposed to get manhid or sanay
Sabi niya kulang pa daw sa kanya.
sa ano, kalyo. I think that's one of the things. My hands peel a lot, so like they're always, peeling. Yeah. So I always end up with like a lower level of or yung sa steam wand, you touch here. I went to La Marzocco, so we have the cool touch steam wands, right? So you don't need and you can get used to it just holding the steam wand. The tip is still really hot, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. How many people are watching? La Marzocco showed me their prototype Steam 1 tip that's ceramic.
Okay.
So you can just retrofit the tip into your Cool Touch Steam 1. Hindi ka na mapapaso. It's hot, but you're not gonna get burned.
Yun ba yung nasa ano? Ano yung bagong na Marzocco na maliit? Yun ba yun? Yung black? Meron siya sa dulo. Oh, Micra. Same ba?
Micra.
Same, no?
Maybe, pero hindi siya pro.
Okay.
It's not for pro yet.
Oo.
I think TPU yung gamit nila sa Micra. So the ceramic one is. So it's like mix. You know how like the Swatch watch is a bioceramic?
Yeah.
So it's like ceramic but also plastic.
Ooh. Okay.
Joe. Start naman tayo sa side nila. Para.
Just grab this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Lucky. Thank you.
So you bought this in Singapore na?
I bought this one in Singapore. I tried to buy the one Lucky had, sabi niya, no, it's for maker and made already.
Okay.
So this is I think it's a good picture into how Panama has developed as a processing nation because like the flavors are so close to those ridiculously expensive Hacienda La Esmeralda geishas from, diba? Like it's so
It's
close.
auction day every year. So that's why.
But it's mixed heirloom. It's just what's growing in their forest. Very sweet upfront. Pineapple and cocoa and that pure dark chocolate.
Grabe yung layers of flavors of this coffee. Wow.
Yung sinasabi ko, kawawa yung black bag.
Yeah. It's good for a reset.
Yeah, good for reset. Really like a and it's not cacao. It's like expensive fucking chocolate, right?
Wow. Ano yan? Hindi ako nakasama nung tasting eh. Wow.
So it's like it's like you're in the presence of greatness. It's like MJ walked in the room. Wow, what a coffee.
Right. Done.
Parang ito dapat yung huli. Oh well. Ulit na natin. So coffee kind of speaks for itself, right? Like I don't have to say much about it. So I'm gonna tell you guys a bit about Honeycomb. This is our co-working space. We work here every day. Pour over dose we do on Fridays or Saturdays. We're starting to like Fridays a bit more. It's a different audience. Also, I find that people in coffee need to work on Saturdays. So Friday is actually a really good day to do it. Yeah, so people work here day to day. The most entry level is our day pass, so it's 75 pesos per hour, but you have to buy a block of 10 hours at a time. So it's 750 pesos, but you can come back 3 times. We also have board game weekends. If you want to join our board game club, it's every Saturday afternoon, and it includes your coffee. Anything without milk, so espresso or pour over coffees are included. Until these run out, they will be at the bar, so they will be included. And that's so stupid. We should charge 500 pesos for this. But, uh, but yeah, I guess it's just part of our culture. We just want to drink nice things. Yeah, board game club for the whole month is 1,000 pesos. So for 4 Saturdays, that's pretty good. It includes other people to play with, right? And usually some instruction. So we have instructors and coaches here, but we sit down and play for hours. Sometimes we end at 6. Sometimes we end at 11. So it's more variable. So we don't want to have a price per hour kind of thing for that day. All right.
It's the next coffee.
Next coffee.
This is so good. This coffee, really, really good coffee. So this coffee is second runner-up in Thailand National Coffee
I have
Roasting
this.
Championship,
I know this coffee. Yeah.
2018. Okay, so where is it? You can smell it. Just quick smell lang, guys, so I can brew it right away. Okay, the coffee is from Chiang Rai, Thailand. Okay, 1,200 meters altitude. It's a Katimor variety, selected yeast. Okay. It says here, memory of love. So may joke nga kami rito eh. Once you drink it, you're gonna remember your ex or the past. Okay. But this is actually...
You have no memories of your current love?
I have.
Just checking. Saan ba siya?
Did you smell the coffee na? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so this was shocking. I had this on my flight out. So I came here at like 2 a.m. and then Chris brought me to the airport and I brewed this for us. The label was not there. There was just a
Yeah.
mystery bag with Thai writing and I was like, baka wala na to when I get back. So I brewed it. So I'll hold my tasting notes until I taste it again. But it was a wonderful, wonderful 2:30 in the morning coffee.
This is very light. This coffee is very light, actually.
It's like the opposite of what we're coming off of.
Para siyang well distinct lychee, actually. If you smell it, right? It's crazy, this coffee.
And this is grown in Thailand?
Yes.
Wow.
1,200 meters. Katimor.
In Chiang Mai.
Yes, Chiang Mai.
Wow.
Chiang Rai. Sorry, Chiang Rai.
Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is like their Baguio, right? Chiang Rai is higher. That's really good.
I'm gonna use this filter.
So Gab, ano yung masarap sa ano? Kinain mo kahapon? Really? Not seafood. Standard, what you expect, yeah. Okay. Really? Pizza surprising? All right. Yeah. Yeah. One World Deli. So they have one here. They have one here. It's hidden. It's in the IKEA building. Like, yeah. So you know the yardstick here in IKEA. So in front of yardstick, there's like a round glass thing that you can see the road below. It's there. So nobody knows where to find it because like you have to go out of the building and down. But it's basically under that bridge. Grab itong Dream Mazede. You feel a little bit better because all of Cafe Utu's retail coffees, all proceeds go to supporting like their hometown in Africa. So there's a foundation. It's in like all proceeds, all profits go to it. So bumabawi sila sa restaurant. Like for perspective, I had green. No, most espressos are $4 to $5 Singapore in Singapore, right? So times 40, it's 200 pesos. It's still a lot, right? It's 200 something pesos. I went to Community. They had a green tip geisha, which they refused to sell me a bag of because apparently it's a they have a whole process. You have to buy it online. So I was like, all right, so I'll have it here. Can I have it as espresso? It said, okay, so it's $5 for the espresso plus $3. So it's $8 for the espresso for the green tip geisha, right? So it's 8 times 40, right? Because it's a special, because it's a geisha, right? So if it's just 5, yeah, so basically they call their Pinnacle series. But that was the most expensive thing on the menu. It was only
Yes.
$8. In Cafe Utu, all of their coffee starts at 12. So bumabawi talaga sila. Galing naman, Joe. Meron ako dito. Woo!
Di ba? Grabe, this coffee is
Teka lang,
like
guys.
crazy.
Teka lang. Woo!
It's so light actually. For 30 grams coffee.
Parang pumasok ko ng Aesop.
I'm gonna buy a lot of this coffee when I go to Thailand.
So lychee,
Yeah.
Right.
Very lychee coffee.
lychee,
Like,
not even stone fruit, lychee, not rambutan lychee,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like it's very clearly a very specific. It's clear as day. Pineapple,
Yes, there is.
yeah.
Pineapple like acidity and sweetness actually. The back.
But it is very much like. And no, not more. Sige,
Ako.
sige. It's very much like lychee juice.
Oo.
It's like straight up, like in the Tetra Pak box.
Grabe. Wow.
Whew.
We're just lucky. They gave us this coffee. Very limited to. I just got it when I went to the roasting competition.
They were also there for the.
Yeah, they were also there. I talked to them and then sabi ko, they gave me the bag because I'm brewing amber for everyone.
Yeah.
So they gave me the bag. Sabi niya, I just brew for everyone so they taste and then take
Oh,
the
nice.
coffee. So we're very lucky actually. Wala na silang benta nito itong coffee na to. Very small lang because it's for competition.
We're gonna drink 2 more coffees.
Yep. So, ito yung akin. Ako naman si, Cafe
Yeah.
Utu.
You guys good? Can you drink 2 more coffees? Yes? Okay.
Joe, pera muna ako niyo. Kasi mag-brew na tayo eh. Okay na.
Ooh.
Ang
If
ganda
you're
na
just
to.
joining us on the live stream,
So, parang
we're just
lean towards
tasting coffees
this din ako eh. No? Ganda eh. Yeah.
from different roasters and origins around the world.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Good.
mapupuri. It's really like you walked into a store, diba? It's like you walked into a fancy store. Craft beer.
Yeah, it does. It does taste like it.
I don't like their like their
Thank you.
IPAs.
This is actually pretty meaty.
They're not Belgian wine.
Very learned in your beers.
How was it, Zach? Coffee. Huh?
Very like the creamy.
Yes, creamy.
The one it comes cherry bonbon.
Stone fruit and chocolate, right?
Well, these are the cherry.
Yeah? One more? Oh, this is my last coffee na.
Yes. That's
Okay.
your last coffee. Right? Di ba? Yung texture niya, they did not say what process eh. It's hard to ano rin, to converse with this guy actually. Hindi siya makapag-English eh.
Well, so that was, I said it's a Catamore.
Oo.
So I was gonna say kanina. So Catamore is code for drink it now, right?
Ministry of Roasters.
You know what? There's a missing coffee here. Hindi nasali sa selection.
Can we brew another one?
The Malaysian champion coffee.
Yeah.
With like a freaking typewriter letter in the front. Kita mo? Kunin mo
I get
naman,
it. You wanna brew that one also?
Do you guys want to have another coffee? We can leave it to a vote.
Change coffee daw. Change coffee. Yung isa
Change
na-
coffee? No, add coffee. Don't change. I want to taste this.
Isa pa. Ito. We need to try this. Malaysia Brewers Cup champion eh. Let's try.
Sabi mo nga ba may kulang eh? Yes.
Ah.
Yes, girl.
Let's change this ano.
You're gonna go in the studio? Sure.
Next month na to.
You wanna watch Coraline? All right,
Next
it's on
month na
Plex.
Huh? Change it.
Change?
Change?
No.
Oh, another one?
Add.
Yeah, okay. 2 more.
Sabi nila okay pa sila eh.
Hamasho.
Malaki nila yung Disney account.
Huh?
Malaki nila yung Disney account.
No, we have an in-house file server here.
May lamang pendrive. Pang wash.
So what you do is you have a media server to to lower the amount of streaming, to manage the total bandwidth, yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know that, Joe. It's on every TV. And all of our coffee documentaries are there also. All right, community puts a lot of words on their package, so let's try to read it. Origin, Huila, Colombia. I, so you know my process, would pronounce it as Huila.
Okay.
Colombia. You think it's safe? Huila. Huila, Colombia. Farm, Monte Blanco. Producer, Rodrigo Sanchez. Harvest, October 2022. So last year's harvest. Processing. Here we go. This is called cold wash. So you remember our description earlier of the hot natural, of the warm natural? This is like the opposite. Placed in Grain Pro bags to ferment in a refrigerator. So opposite. Instead of the sous vide, they put it in the fridge. At 10 to 13 degrees for 76 hours. This is a very specific time because you have 48, then 72 hours, right? So it's 3 days. So why 76?
Maybe
They add another 4 hours.
when they try it,
It wasn't ready.
yeah, it wasn't ready.
And then rinsed. So there's the washing. So they wash it. And then dried on raised beds. So they pulped it, right? And then, almost like the honey, that's when they stored it. And then, because they didn't let it dry out completely, it's not a honey. Instead, it's rinsed. So they washed it. And then on raised beds. Recommended for filter and espresso. I find that most of the community coffees are omni roast in that way. We'll skip the cupping notes. Varietals, Pink Bourbon. They have described it as a fresh acidity, fruity sweetness, and juicy. Here we are again. Grabe, para siya talagang, alam mo yung Yo's na Tetra Pak?
I don't know.
Like you go to like a 7-Eleven in like Hong Kong or Singapore, and they have this Tetra Pak juice brand called Yo's. And then you just pick it just because it has a picture of whatever fruit you want, because you can't
Okay.
understand. Yeah. It's like that. Bit of
This one's community.
community, yeah. Yeah. Hard
Is
swing
this-
in terms of
Is this
flavor.
Arabica?
This one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so.
Okay.
So
The variety is different.
I thought this one. I said that
yeah,
on my
I thought it's a robusta.
Huh? Because it's tiny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the but first it's Ethiopia.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't grow robusta in Ethiopia. And then the variety is 74158. It's a number.
Yeah.
So all right.
Very interesting coffee.
Let's drink this first and then we'll discuss that one in a bit.
Ito na yung sa akin.
Soy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Wow.
tofu, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. Very sweet. It's like the tofu water, diba? Very sweet. This is a very delicate compared to all the other kind of punch in your face coffees. It's like lime.
What's that? Stash. What coffee?
It's like the other stuff you put in cocktails, right? It's like lime and ginger and
Okay. We bought us some coffee.
Oh, nice.
They're from Angkan.
oh, nice. Yeah, I know you. Yeah. Uh-huh. No.
It's an
makin-
Itogan
Tama nga,
coffee.
kilala ko to eh.
Itogon daw. Anaerobic Itogon.
Oh, nice.
We keep it for next.
Okay lang, we'll keep it for next for overdose. Yeah.
Dalawa siya.
Sultan Kudarat na
Oh. Good.
Nice. This is from New Roastery.
yes.
New roastery na kayo, di ba? Ginger snaps.
You've seen this coffee na? It's very small. The varietal is it's 7,000 something. Yeah. Diba? So little. What's that? What's that? Na. Ah, talaga? Same, same? Wow.
Or a different lot. Same lot then.
Grabe. So, we're gonna brew this. Oo. Sulit ng beans. Like, maliit yan. Anong variety yun? Marami ko. Pero, any specific?
It tastes different as it cools. Yeah. Tastes different as it cools. But yeah, it's all the other stuff in a good cocktail, diba? Like, huh? Yeah. So it's like it's all the different things that you might want to put in a cocktail to balance it out because it's like too sweet or too, ano. So you put it
What's that?
like one of
Yan,
these.
yan. Yes. You wanna smell it?
Yeah. Yeah, saline also. You drop little saline in your cocktail. That's an interesting coffee.
Ah, susuka.
But you guys see, right? Like the amount of coffee you have, you probably only had about this much coffee, right? Right? It's been 8. We're gonna be 9, so maybe to the top. And over 90 minutes. So it's actually not, but you feel the caffeine also? Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the science on that. Like, how come at pour overdose you end up so caffeinated,
Oh, yeah.
even though you drink so little? I think it might be like how you're not supposed to eat one candy every day. Because if you do that, like you're teaching your body to metabolize pure sugar. But then you can eat like 4 candies in one day and be perfectly fine. Ongoing discussion in my house after trick or treating. Yeah, because they were like, hey, don't worry, Papa. We'll only eat 1 a day. I'm like, stop. This is not a good plan. Thank you. Medyo panalo tong ice system with,
Oo. Actually.
to reinforce the big ice with the ano.
Oo.
It does all come out pretty cold.
Masarap siya actually. The ano.
Yeah, but again, this is the problem with any sort of like whiskey stone or it's like once you use it, that's it.
Yeah. Tagal
That's
ulit.
2 hours before
Oh.
you can make another one.
Need a lot.
Yeah. But also, like the whiskey stones are working better than the ball and the ano, because like it's distributed.
Well distributed.
Yeah, so it releases its cold faster.
Tikman natin yung Champs Coffee. Last.
All right, so we'll read this. Curate Coffee Roasters. So I picked this up in the Populous, which is a cafe of the roastery named 2 Degrees North, which in, I'm going to say 2017, was like the roaster of the world champion,
Yeah.
but apparently not roasted by them. Curate Coffee Roasters by Malaysia Brewers Champion. And there's a letter. Kenya Kiandu AB, which is interesting because, as we mentioned in the past, usually when there's letters behind the Kenyan coffee, that might indicate that it's not necessarily a great coffee. It's just been sorted, right? But they have some additional information which implies that it has been sorted or it has been selected with care. Coffee variety SL28 and SL32. So these are lab generated.
Scab Lab.
Yeah, so there's some debate as to whether that, whether or not that's a good thing, right? Because they didn't mess with the genetics, but they kind of messed with the genetics, if you know what I mean. So they're lab generated, but the result is a very delicious coffee. So that's good. So SL is Scott Labs, and then you have Scott Labs experiment number 28 and experiment number 32. Those are the ones that became popular. Process is a washed coffee. They have a flavor profile, which we're not going to read. Established in 2021, so a new company. Roasted in Malaysia. Curate Coffee Roasters is a roastery based in KL, Malaysia, and home to 2 times Malaysia Brewers Cup champion of 2017-2019, Sean Liu. He is renowned for his signature brewing method, which involves the meticulous use of the V60 pour-over technique. His method yields a remarkably complex cup of coffee, boasting rich layers of exquisite flavors. Tough luck, we're not using V60. Passionate about coffee and people, he is always looking for inspirations to perfect his art in brewing coffee, to in turn inspire his fellow coffee drinkers and customers how to brew a perfect cup of coffee. With a vision of becoming one of the leading specialty coffee roasters in the world, Curate's philosophy are to create sustainable relationships with our coffee producers, trusted exporters, customers, and also our professionals and peers. So basically, it's very cliche. It's all the stuff that you say in a barista competition to be, right? To punch up your professionalism score. Recommended brewing instructions 92 to 94 degrees Celsius, brew ratio 1:15, and a brew time of 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So yeah, I find it so interesting that like they talk about how meticulous his brew method was, but they describe it. It's so basic, right? Super simple. But they said all this other shit where they could have been putting all the meticulous brew method up here. So it's okay. It's okay. I am judging, but that's what we do. That's what we're doing. All right, so 30 grams in. Thank you. All right, so far, favorite coffees. Which ones did you like? First Cafe Udo, right? The Dream Azede. Anyone else? Who else agrees? Dream Azede. Dream. Oh, so we have the on the right. All right. What else did you guys like? Chiang Rai. Chiang Rai. Memories of Love.
Zach daw, Monte Blanco.
Hmm?
Zach, it's Monte Blanco.
Monte Blanco. Ooh, This is Hamasho. That's still community. Monte Blanco. Well, drink it because here comes your. Hmm? You can drink it here.
Oh, I like the iced coffee.
So you're into craft beer. Okay.
Then,
Okay.
uh,
I'm never sure whether I can offer you alcohol. Okay. Ah, happy birthday. Don't worry, I'm your responsible kuya. I'm someone's dad.
ako ito yung favorite ko. Ice one.
Diba? It's also a really good start.
Tamis eh. Oo.
And like, okay, so if we go back to the placemat, right? Where are the other ones? If you go back to placemat, we're usually focusing on origin and experience, right? So the connection between origin and craftsmanship is the producer. Connection between stewardship and craftsmanship is the barista, right? It's the barista. But we also have here in this section between origin and craftsmanship is also the roaster. So the roaster needs a good understanding of your origin, and kind of the harmony between those two pull it towards the center. Now, for blends in particular, when you have a goal, that's always the best way to make a blended coffee, right? Like if you're just blending coffee for economic purposes, it's kind of a like ba't ka pa ng specialty coffee, right? So you need to have a goal. Do you want to make something that's very like the traditional would be a fruit and nut coffee? So you take a very fruity coffee and a very nutty chocolate coffee, and you'd use that to make a blend, right? You go to Angkat, that's what you're gonna get, right? If you wanted to make, say, a butterscotch coffee, you would need to think of what were the ingredients that go into a butterscotch, right? And find coffees that do that. So it'd be like a caramel, and then something that's milky, right? And then maybe a third coffee that's gonna increase your like pure sugar sweetness, right? So those would all go together to make a butterscotch blend, right? So with this one, what you have is the craftsmanship of the roaster putting together the coffees, right? To achieve a goal, which is you like iced coffee, you live 2 degrees north of the equator, right? Like we have to solve this problem for ourselves because everybody else who's like in charge in the freaking specialty coffee world is from the global north, right? These guys are from Norway. What the hell do they know about iced coffee? Anyway. Some real talk. All right. So, I always love it when like Patrick Rolfe goes up and he's like, "Oh, this is the greatest whatever in the world." I'm like, I don't know, man. Which one is this?
Cafe Utu.
Cafe Utu. It
That one.
settles really well.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's cooled down.
It settles
Right.
really well. Stuff to think of as like in this field where we have so much variety of like in your face coffees. This one is like very, very clean. Like the Hamasha, it's very, very clean, understandable and pleasurable. You like some of these coffees you'll want to drink in a cafe once or twice, and this is a coffee that you'd actually really want at home. I also think that we should espresso the Dream Azede.
Now down to the last coffee.
All right, so Malaysia,
Seen it?
don't fail us.
Bumagsak.
Bumagsak. So go up and down. Do I have enough? Yeah, I do.
So we're brewing 80 at start and 93 sa second and last pour.
So in home ground, they also have very similar brewing technique. Two, two temperature, two kettle.
Good thing nakabili ka nung ano, coffee nila.
Diba? So random.
Oo, so random. It's
So random. I was in a bar. It's basically a. I didn't. I went there. I went to this cafe specifically because it transitions into a bar, and to
time.
meet the secret pals guys at like 4 o'clock. So I was like, all right. So 5 o'clock,
Yeah, the closing.
happy hour now.
Yeah, yeah.
And good thing to note about that bar. A lot of times you have happy hour, and it's what do you call this? You have happy hour, and it's all classics, right? So it'll be like martini, whatever, right? Just done really well, old fashioned, and they don't have any like signature concept cocktails. But in Stay Gold, it's called Stay Gold Flamingo. Flamingo is the front, it's a cafe, and then the back is Stay Gold, it's a bar. It's run by this dude who used to like he had like dreams of rock and roll, fame and glory. So he was like really popular in Singapore, but just in Singapore as like a leather jacket rock star. Motherfucker's got his jacket like in a frame on the wall and like a whole like shrine like of pictures of him and his rock band there. But he's the floor manager. He's like walking around and like yeah.
Wow. How much does it cost? One drink. Did you?
So at happy hour it's 16. In Singapore, all like most nice cafes are what most nice cafes in Singapore are $25 a drink, right? So 16 is like Manila price, like curator price.
Wow.
So in Singapore, if you're drinking cocktails, you're basically spending 1,000 a cocktail, 1,000 pesos a cocktail.
Safe
but
to say like 4K, 5K each bar.
yes, yes,
3 to 4 drinks.
yeah. But I'm heavily of the frame of mind now that there's probably no other like great cocktail city in the world but Singapore. Like maybe New Orleans. I haven't been there, right? But like in terms of like how many hits in one place, like there's a reason they moved the 50 best award ceremony to Singapore this year because they already knew there was going to be like 8 bars on the 50 best list. Some of them are not worth going to, though. Like, well, I mean, you might like boring things, and if you like boring things, go to Atlas. It's really fucking boring. Impressive. Maybe for like one-on-one dates with a person you don't know very well, and that might be nice, but otherwise, I'm not a fan of the spot. Great bars. People say it's overrated, would be Employees Only Singapore, but I would argue that it's underrated because like it gets so packed. They do 1,000 drinks a night.
Yeah, I always saw their
Right.
post eh.
They do 1,000, and you're shouted at. Because like they don't have a good system for bring glasses from the back to the front, so they gotta move to the party, right? And people who are there are not themselves. Like people who are partying and Employees Only. It's the closest I've found in the world to Shrine of Satisfaction, which is El Union's bar
Very loud.
in La Union. Yeah, loud and like, again, people are not themselves when they're there, right? So, like I've met people who I know or who I've seen in other places, and they're just not.
It's different people when they.
They're different people when they go in there, and then everything's free pour, so no measuring. Everything is.
Yeah. I remember.
So, let's see if I have. I do not have a mixing glass here. But basically, the way that they make their drinks there is that every bartender is trained to pour like this. And they know exactly what basically what an ounce looks like, but 2 ounce, 3 ounce, just by looking at the mixing glass like that. And Brian Bonifacio,
Yeah.
the senior head bartender over there, he once showed me, it's like, watch KO. So he pours it like that. And he takes out the jigger, and then he pours it in the jigger, and it's perfect, right? He's done multiple times. Yeah, shout out to Brian.
They have to 1,000 drinks a night.
But think about 1,000 drinks a night, and walang sablay. Like, even though they're free pouring, all the drinks are good, right? So even though usually you get a riotous, happy bar. I mean, like, think of like what? Today X Future, like 8 years ago. Super gulo. Like, you wouldn't order anything but a beer there because like anything else is going to be bad. But so that level of crazy, but like with mixed drinks, hard liquor, and like everyone's having a good time, and the drinks are always good. So they used to have DJs and stuff, and they just moved to Spotify playlists because like the magic was not dependent on the entertainment anymore. You could just like play a song and everyone would go mad. So I was there once, I think 2019, and this is before because now they really blew up. So even more crowded now. But 2019, they were already popular, and it was December, and a van of like 12 white people from a Christmas party pulled up, and they all jumped out in Santa costumes, went in the bar. It took the DJ all of 4 seconds to drop Mariah Carey's I don't wanna, and then the whole bar just blew up singing. So good. So some people say it's overrated. I think it's underrated because it's so hard to run an establishment that is that popular with that number of drinks, that number of people, and still maintain the level of quality. I think just as far as like industry bias and reviewer bias goes, any bar that's free pour will get scored down. They'll be like, oh, you're free pour. There's no way it's precise, right? But you ask them to prove it to you, and they'll prove it to you. You taste the drink, it tastes good. It's just your bias, right? Just not what you're used to looking at. So you think it's not good, but it's great. All right.
Thanks, Joe.
This doesn't taste like anything we've had today. That's for sure.
Very competition coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, very competition coffee. It's like plum
Yeah.
and right? Plum and a little bit of lemongrass and this is what I would describe as coffee that judges like to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the one. Huh?
Yes.
That one, yeah, the Kenya. But has a little bit of that sinigangness. Just a little bit. So before, all of my tasting notes used to be like that before I learned. But I've gone and I've come back, right? So I'll still say something like tender juicy hot dog. Which I'll explain why I had to use that tasting note later. But I started out giving tasting notes like barbecue chicken, right? And a lot of Kenyan coffee tastes like barbecue chicken. And then my mentor, Sly Samonte, is also a multiple time champion here. He was like, all right, there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to break it down for me, right? Does it taste like barbecue chicken? Yes. What's in a barbecue chicken? Right? So it's tomato, maybe some mesquite wood, right? Right? Fat, protein. What's the sweetness coming from, right? So there's nothing wrong. You just identified, okay, this tastes like fruitcake. What does that mean? It tastes like brandy, right? It tastes like raisins. It tastes like nuts, right? So sinigang is for me, a very popular like tasting note for funky Kenyan coffees. What does that mean? It tastes like tamarind and yam
Gabi.
and yeah,
Yeah.
gabi, which is a white yam, right?
Yep.
Uh,
It is
And-
distinct white
Diba?
Gabi flavor.
Yeah.
Well distinct for this coffee.
and then the problem with tender juicy hot dog is I have no idea what the fuck goes in a tender juicy hot dog,
Yeah.
right? I think the whole point is that nobody knows, but it's just not dead yet. All right. So is this anybody's favorite coffee compared to all the other coffees? No? Yeah. This is a very competition coffee.
Yeah.
Dave's right. Very straightforward, very clear tasting notes.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's what you're
need-
looking
You need that.
Very common misconception about competition coffees is that they need to be the best coffees. And judges will say this all the time and they're wrong. Okay? Judges usually don't know what they're talking about. What they want is to be walked through a score sheet, right? In order for you to walk them through a score sheet, there needs to be no discussion about whether or not what you're tasting is what they're tasting, right? And this is a good example of a coffee that's very, very clear. But diba, when you taste it, those tasting notes there are 4 of them and they're the same. So let's see what he said. Wild honey, cherry, and Java apple.
Okay.
So Java apple is very specific. Cherry tomato. So again, that's your experience, right? Actually, you're right. I just had a cherry tomato at lunch. You're right. And wild honey. I'm not getting any of that wild honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? Okay, so here's the other problem with wild honey, is that wild honey has terroir, right? So whatever the plants were in that area, that's what your honey is going to innately taste like, right? So so that's a mistake. If you put a tasting note like wild honey, the wild honey in Denmark is going to taste completely different from your wild honey from Laguna. Depends on the blossom, right? And everything. The temperature, like our honey here is basically eternally sous videing, right? Whereas their honey over there is crystallizing really fast, right? It's a completely different product. So when you say something like that, yeah, So in theory, your best tasting notes are the ones that you'll have the most shared experience on, right?
It depends on your memory.
Yeah.
If it's a good memory, then it's a good one.
Yeah, so from experience, right? So Dave's here was peach mango pie because almost all of your judges here in the Philippines would have tasted a peach mango pie, right? A little bit of oiliness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of whatever, refined white sugar. All right.
What's that?
Oh, the yeast and was this wild honey? Nope, it was wine yeast. Honey plus wine yeast plus peaches. Yeah, so it's Diego Garcia. He's one of the most renowned competition coffee guys now. I tasted. Lucky actually had the same coffee, but without the fruit. So what Diego Garcia does is that's this guy over here, by the way. That's Diego Garcia. He takes his Castillo coffee. So Castillo is a very little known varietal of coffee, and he adds wine yeast to the fermentation process, right? So wine yeast is a way of stabilizing all of the different elements inside of your vat, right? And it's done in wine. So he took the same yeast and put it in the coffee. So he stabilized it, and then he produces a honey, which he depulps it becomes a sludge, and then it's dried, right? In that process, he does experiments where he puts fruits in the same vicinity as the coffee, right? Why? So right now we have a farm, right? And our coffee is also done with a modified honey process. So we depulp it, It goes into barrels, right, in the buckets, and we put it on a truck with all of our other organic produce, and we move it from Nueva Vizcaya to Antipolo, right? We do that because we have access to fully organic drying facilities in Antipolo at a lower elevation, right? Which means it's going to happen faster and more effectively than if we do it at 1,700 meters above sea level. In the truck, it's being exposed to all the other wild yeast that's in that truck, right? So in that specific truck, you'll have carrots and kale and lettuce, and all of those things are releasing wild yeast into the air and going into the coffee while it's fermenting in that honey stage. All Diego Garcia did was to control what kind of yeast is in that area at that point in time. So what he's doing is he's overloading it with peach or lychee or whatever. And the reason he's doing that is for competition. What you end up, because I tasted the one with no, and it's very, very close.
Okay.
It's very, very close. The peach is just a
Very
finishing,
subtle.
yeah, just a finishing note to it. So what he's doing is that he's taking a coffee that's kind of a baseline very good and adding one more element of clarity so that you can declare a tasting note. And if you declare that tasting note, that extra note can score you more points, right? So all he's done is that he's taken the natural process, which is coffee will take the yeast of whatever's in the area while it's fermenting. So why don't we just control what yeast that is? Really smart. All right. So that has been almost 2 hours, and 3 minutes will be 2 hours. Question?
Oh, no, it's Cream and Crema is holding this coffee from the producer.
Which one?
Cream and Crema.
They're what?
They're holding the coffee. They're holding like the same peach coffee.
Yeah?
Also strawberry and lulo.
Yeah. Oh, they're also roasting it.
Yeah.
Nice. So it's available locally now,
Yeah.
but it's a strawberry.
Strawberry, I think they're gonna sell peach and lulo also.
Nice, yeah. So, Crema and Cream is a roastery and also in South Triangle
Yes.
in QC. So that area is actually pretty fun right now for a coffee. For a long time, they were focusing heavily on food, but I think that has swung pretty heavily with their head of coffee winning the Philippine Brewers Cup. So if you want to try that kind of coffee, we used to get it from abroad. Apparently now, Sherman has it in Crema and Cream. So if you're in QC, try it out. So that's probably my favorite QC roastery right now. QC is a very big place.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, if you
Yeah.
ask me to pick, I would probably say Crema and Cream is my favorite QC roastery. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to hang out here.
Yeah.
As
Do
long
you
as
have
you
a
want.
class picture?
Yeah, it's a relatively
Oh,
slow
like-
afternoon. But
Sure.
for now, would you like
Group
to join us
picture.
back here? We'll take a picture.
Group picture.
Oh, some of these are really good. Pag ganun yung picture. Pag ganito yung picture.
Papunta rin.
Naharap natin dito yung coffees. So if you guys ever find yourself traveling and want to know about cafes to go to, we have a blog called Daily Drink Magazine, which is somewhat dormant right now. But it also has an Instagram. You can also just DM me and ask,
Yeah.
how is this for light? Light is good?
Sige, dito pa.
1, 2, 3. If you want, you can hold your favorite beans.
All right, who wants to hold a different coffee? Okay, Monte Blanco. Who wants to hold Monte Blanco?
Zach.
That's Zach. Okay. Who said Ice Ice Baby?
That's me.
What's that? Okay. What's your name again? Burn. All right, labas
Burn?
natin yung...
Burn. Oh.
All right. Did anyone like the Malaysian champion? Nylon. Ricky, why don't you hold nylon? It's the first time I have some nylon. Memory of Love. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna wear this Lam Marzocco sock hat I got over the weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. elixir. Oh, ikaw na yan.
Ako na yan, ito lang.
And then we have the Ethiopia Oragarero. Over on this side. You see, it's 4 on this side. 3 on this side. Oh, ito na. Sa dulo. Oh, Gab, dito ka na kay Malaysian champion. Silip ka dito sa ilaw para kita.
Yeah.
One, two, three. One, two. Good.
All right, thanks guys. Oh, one more.
Yung isang ano na.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Sorry.
All right, thanks guys.
Thank you for joining. Ay, baka
Please
yung mga
subscribe to our
links.
YouTube page and follow it. That's where we get most of our money to do all of this stuff. Just that's not a joke. Like all of the money we get from YouTube, we spend on coffee for people to drink here.
Thank you
Thanks for watching.
guys.
Cheers.